Welcome back to another episode of Bethel Park Historical Society Presents. My name is Bill Haberther, and I'm happy to welcome you back to this new show. Today's show, we're going to sort of recap some of the changes that we've made, but also highlight a new business that's now housed in the Schoolhouse Arts and History Center. It's Reginald's Coffee, and we're going to meet the owners, Matt and Julie Costco, and talk to them about why they decided to come to this 112-year-old building and open up a local business. So we're standing in the original 1905 entryway to the Bethel Township High School. If you remember, this originally was a 3-room classroom. There were 2 rooms on the first floor and 1 large room on the second floor. Matt and Julie have done a lot of work over the past year, and one of the areas which they concentrated on was this original foyer. So it's been completely gutted, refurbished, the original 1905 hardwood floors, and this is now the entryway into their coffee shop. So in a few minutes we'll go in and talk with them and see what inspired them to come and join the Bethel Park Historical Society and make this the new area for their new business. We're now on the inside of Reginald's Coffee Shop. This is our newest addition to the Bethel Park Historical Society, and I'm sitting with Julie and Matt Costco. They came to us about a year ago, and I'm going to have them explain what prompted them to get involved with the Historical Society. But we're in the 1905 classroom of the Bethel Township High School. And interestingly enough, this actually was my mother's 1st and 2nd grade classroom. So when she came to the grand opening about a month ago, she said, you know, it's amazing. This classroom looks so much better than actually when I went to school here in the 40s. So I thought that was a great compliment to you both. So welcome. So Julie and Matt, what prompted you to get involved in starting up a coffee shop?
It was really just a hobby that we had, that I had picked up. I was roasting a little bit on a popcorn popper, and sort of all the cards fell into the right place with you guys, with the Historical Society, and with us being able to find equipment and really just every corner we went around was like a nice opportunity to
start. Because I mean, actually, by training, Matt, you're an engineer, a civil engineer.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Civil structural engineer.
So you actually had a job, and you know, but this, you know, and engineering's great, but you know, this was kind of your passion, and you know, you've been married for what, 5-6 years now?
Going on 6 years.
Yeah. 6 years.
And you decided, you know, now's the time to sort of pursue a passion that you had for roasting coffee and open up a coffee shop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Start a small business and
I
to create some jobs.
Yeah, and one of our favorite things to do, like whether it's in Pittsburgh or on vacation or wherever, we like love finding the local coffee shop.
Right.
So when he started roasting at home, which, you know, he's actually getting raw beans and taking them from scratch and roasting them. And like I wasn't, I should say, like a coffee connoisseur, but I was into coffee.
Right.
And it was hands down like some of the best coffee I've ever had. So it just kind of went from there, and I think the engineer, he wouldn't say this, but humble, but I think the engineer mind behind him helped him with the roasting because it is kind of like a scientific process. So I think he's pretty good at it.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you know, and we'll turn the camera around to see, but this roasting machine is incredible. It looks like a little steam engine.
Yeah.
So it's a far cry from a popcorn machine.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely.
A little more expensive too.
Definitely works better.
But I know, you know, I've been involved with the Historical Society. It'll be 3 years in July. And about a year ago, I got an email from a guy, and he said, you know, hey, would you guys consider, you know, entertaining the thought of doing a coffee shop in the building? So, you know, I talked to the board about it. We said, you know, we wanted to create more of a customer base for the building, get people in here on a daily basis, get them interested and involved. And, you know, millennials love their coffee, and we thought, you know, this really could work out. And when we met you two, we just, you know, what really solidified it for us is your love for history and the architecture, the respect for the building. You actually live in an 1850 farmhouse in Bethel Park, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, we're fortunate enough to live in one of the historic houses in Bethel Park. So I don't know if that's the first reason that we had reached out to the Historical Society in the beginning, or if that came after the fact, but we were looking for history on our own house at one point.
Okay.
But yeah, so when we got involved with you guys, I mean, it's so cool because it's a community group, the Bethel Park Historical Society, being so involved in the community, and coffee is the same way. You know, it's a
Right.
place where you meet your neighbor, where you get more involved, where you know, on the way to the park, you grab a drink with the kiddos. So it's just really cool to like be in this place because I think this building is so meaningful to the community. And you mentioned about the millennials loving coffee, and you're so right, but it's cool because we get anybody from like literally a 7-year-old, like this is her regular spot that she loves to come, all the way up to, you know, older generations who went to school here. So,
Right.
and everybody in between. So it's really cool to see like the interest people have to get them into the building, and everybody's super interested in like what else is going on,
Right.
you know, what goes on in the other classrooms. So it's been really cool to see people that have driven by this building probably a million times and haven't
And
been
never
in
been
yet. Yeah, and everybody that walks in is just totally like wowed, not just by our space, but by the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we were
And I
fortunate.
think that was important for us because, you know, we as a nonprofit organization and a group of volunteers were renovating the building. And when you guys first came to us, I mean, you were here Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays and really helping in with the renovations. And then when the idea sort of blossomed and we were going to go ahead with a coffee shop, I mean, you just literally took this classroom and just gave it your own stamp, and just turned it into a beautiful space for the community to enjoy. And I know a lot of times when we're now using the building as a rental venue. So when people come in, tomorrow we have a graduation party here, and I know that you guys are providing the coffee
right.
for them also. So it's sort of, you know, it's been a huge benefit for us and a huge bonus. But and I think as more people come in, you really do get a sense of the history of the community and the building, because I know we've gotten some wonderful contacts through you guys just being open on a daily basis. So actually, what are your hours?
Our hours are Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Saturday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m.
And I know initially we talked about, you thought, you know, you had Becky, who was a dear family friend, was helping you out. And then you were going to take about 6 months to hire an employee, just waiting for the business to grow. But good news is that you've actually hired 2 people, right?
Yeah.
Three
A third,
total.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
wow.
so
Some-
3 total. Yeah.
Some twins, 2 twins,
Yeah.
and Becca and 2 twins. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think it's just great. It's, you know, it's a local business. People want to support local businesses, and it's, you know, it's a wonderful product too.
Yeah.
So you're roasting your own coffee, and where do you get the coffee, Matt?
We get it from all over the world. We get it from importers. We're too small right now to work with farms and the like in other countries now, but eventually if we were a little bit bigger and we could buy in larger volume, then
Right.
we might consider doing that. But
Yeah, but we go through pretty much like importers, but
Yeah.
they are experts in their field, and they find and research the most reputable farms. Some are organic,
Right.
You know, everybody's paid fairly, so it's coming from really responsible places.
Individuals.
Yeah,
Which is
individuals
great
and
because you're
farms.
helping those local areas also. I noticed
Yeah.
over my shoulder you have a roller map,
Yep.
which every school classroom had one of
Yeah.
those, with little points as to where the copies are from.
Yeah.
So how does Matt sort of walk us through how do you get the beans in a bag? They're delivered to the door, and then you put it in this beautiful machine. And I've seen you use a computer. Is it all computer? Is the roasting done through a computer?
no, so I mean it's done manually, but you're logging the information like the bean temperature and the environmental temperatures.
Okay.
And so that way you can, once you find a profile that you really like, you can stick to it and you have sort of a roadmap to follow. So it makes it a little bit easier to be consistent with a good product.
And the
So,
flavor and the taste.
Right.
And I know when you guys do your roasting and we're here, it just, you know, it's like in the summer when the doors are open, we get the smells from Bethel Bakery
Yeah.
wafting over. The smell of freshly roasted coffee is just like, And Julie, I know you designed the blackboard over behind your shoulder. That was actually one of the original slate chalkboards that was in this classroom. You just repurposed it.
It was, yeah, and that
and,
sucker was heavy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
They do weigh a ton.
Yeah.
But you've created your menu, so you do roasted coffees.
Yep.
brands, lattes, cappuccinos, mochachinos.
Yep.
Tea,
So-
where do you
yeah.
get your tea?
So we get it from a company in Canada. We found them when we were on, was it not a honeymoon trip? We were just like up on a little anniversary trip. Is that what it was?
anniversary
Yeah.
trip to,
Niagara on the Lake.
that's right.
Yeah,
And
and we had like high tea at this really cool old like Victorian hotel, and that's the brand that they served, and
Okay.
it like blew our minds. So we reached out to them, and that's we're sourcing our tea from. But yeah, so you could come in and get a cup of tea, iced teas. Then we also have like pots of tea to share if you want to make kind of an
Okay.
event with friends. And then our coffee menu, it's kind of like all the traditional coffee drinks. So we're buying like really and good, roasting and buying really good beans, really high quality. And it's amazing. Like coffee's a lot like wine, where those farms are, who that farmer is. It's just the whole process each bean can taste different, one from
Right.
Ethiopia or one from Guatemala. So the idea is really to highlight those kind of natural flavors.
the coffee itself.
Yeah,
Right.
so we don't do like a ton of additives or syrups and that sort of thing. When we do them, it's very purposeful. So like we have a house-made vanilla syrup that we make with vanilla beans that pairs really well with our schoolhouse blend because it's
Okay.
kind of like a chocolatey, nutty coffee. So we're very purposeful when we do add anything like that. But for the most part, like our lattes and our menu are very kind of the traditional way to prepare coffee drinks.
Okay.
So we've had pretty good feedback though.
And then I noticed, Matt, over your shoulder, you've got some snacks, some high-quality chocolates, some fresh fruits, some cold drinks, and pastries, which are always a good thing. So, and those you get in daily from a local bakery?
We do, yeah. We
Yeah.
use Mediterra. They're out in like the Robinson area, and they
Okay.
actually have a little cafe now, like a brunch, lunch, breakfast place out in Swickley. But we get them from them, and they're
Yep.
pretty good. We did a lot
If
of
you're
taste
ever
testing.
if you're ever in Swickley, you should check them out too. They've
Okay.
got a lot
Yeah.
more than just the baked goods.
Yeah,
Very very good looking salads, very nice soups and stuff like that too.
Okay.
yeah.
And so, Reginald, I mean, I know the backstory, but how did you choose that name?
So Reginald is our dog, which if you saw him kind of laying down, he is that kind of profile of the little
Of
guy
your
in our
logo.
logo. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. He's just, like all dogs have a personality, and like
Right.
we always kid, like if he were human, he'd be kind of like a hipster, would like wear a little fancy hat and like go sip coffee at a coffee shop. That's just like his personality.
Yep.
Whereas his sister Lulu, got to give her a shout out. She's more of like the adventurer, just wants to like go in the woods. But Reggie's more of like a coffee shop dog.
Okay.
So
Now that this is completely renovated and now that the building is, the business is up and running and you've got employees, we look forward to having you guys come back to the Historical Society on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings to help out with the rest of the building.
That's
I
right.
mean, you've done such an incredible job. I mean, it really has
Thanks.
honored the history of the building,
Yeah.
the classroom, the architecture. I know, that door over your shoulder was, you completely stripped down to its bare wood.
Yeah.
You did a lot of work on the transom, stripping off years and years of paint. I mean, you couldn't even open those.
Yeah.
So it's really wonderful in what you've achieved. And, every time we drive by, I mean, the parking's great. It's the location, 2600 South Park Road, for people who don't know, just where you see the trolley, come in and get a coffee. We now have not only did they renovate this classroom, but they were very generous with regard to other elements of the building. When we were outside looking over the door, Matt and Julie had donated the door as a gift to us. So thank you for that. We installed the handicap ramp, which makes it accessible for everyone to come in and enjoy coffee. And I'm sure a lot of people just come in, they get their coffee, they grab a yearbook from the library at the Historical Society and kind of catch up on their local history.
that's true. We've had some people find parents, find siblings,
Yeah.
find some people in there. It's kind of fun
Everybody
to see,
wants
yeah.
to come in and goof on their parents and their
Right, take
grandparents.
pictures and then
Yeah.
with their iPhone
Yeah.
and send
Yep.
it off to everybody and
Yep.
their friend.
Yep.
But it just, it truly has been a pleasure getting to know you guys, and
Yeah,
we just really
likewise.
appreciate all your support, and we wish you continued success, and we look forward to your next
Yeah.
adventure, and would like to be a part of it. So,
Absolutely. And thank you, because I know the Bethel Park Historical Society, I mean, literally, this couldn't have happened without you guys. And if I could just say, like, this, people always compliment the space, and yeah, we put a lot of work into it, but it's not hard to make an old building like this shine and look really
Right.
cool. And it was so rewarding doing a lot of that work ourselves. I mean, if you would ask me that a month ago when I was stripping paint, I would be like, ah! But it's so rewarding to see it after the fact.
Yeah.
And like people have reached out coming through. So like if anybody wants to volunteer, I mean, come get your hands dirty. Come tear down a wall. Like you'll find pencils, you'll find baseball cards. It's such a cool experience to like work in this building. So I would encourage anybody to come do that.
And you have a good cup of coffee with
Yeah,
all your
that's right.
hard work and
That's
efforts,
right. That's right.
All right,
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you both.
Yeah, thanks
And,
so much.
Let's cheers to
Cheers.
Reginald's. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to start filming out here for several reasons. We have a couple of new things that I want to highlight and thank several people who have participated over the past several months. One of the most major changes that we made is installing a new handicap ramp. Several months ago, we started a fundraiser to have a handicap ramp built, so we just become more inclusive to those people that have difficulty getting up some steps. So we started a GoFundMe page. We were fortunate that we had some major donors write checks. The DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution, the local Bethel Fife and Drum, contributed $1,500 toward that campaign, and one of their members did a significant donation of about $2,000 as a contribution. But in addition, Moe's of Southwest Grill donated $1,500. So these three major contributors, along with several individuals, we were able to garner enough funds to have the handicap ramp built. So a special thank you to Nick Pasquini for designing and building it. Pasquini Construction did a beautiful job on the ramp. And also want to thank Jim Jenkins for coming in, and Andy Amrine for helping with this project. What they did was, John Oakes, our plumber from All Pro Plumbing, said before you put in all that concrete, perhaps you should change the main water line to the building that runs to the Park Avenue street. So John came, Jim Jenkins came, Andy Amrine donated a backhoe, and they spent the day digging up the old pipe and replacing it with copper line. So once that was finished, Nick and his crew came in, designed the handicap ramp, and we now have accessibility, and it's a beautiful thing. In addition, we sort of changed the elevation a little bit on the grade, so we need to redo some landscaping. And again, Jim Jenkins at Jenkins Lawn and Garden Center stepped up to the plate, regraded the area over my right shoulder, and implanted sod the other day. So as you can see, Jim, we're watering it right now so the grass doesn't die. In addition, the Daughters of the American Revolution, one of their conservation projects is to attract bees and butterflies. So they asked us if we would be willing to have them plant some flowers. So Lisa Jenkins donated the plants, and the Daughters of the American Revolution came in a couple of weeks ago and planted these beautiful planters, which now sit outside this entrance, and we have about 4 planters outside the main entrance in the front of the building. So every episode we have significant changes since our previous episode. So today let's take a tour and see what some of those changes are. Okay, I just wanted to give everybody an update. Probably the last time we did some filming, these bookcases, they may or may not have been built. They were constructed by Bill Mercer, who happens to have been my uncle. Unfortunately, he passed away at the end of last year, but he's left a legacy in the building. He was able to restore and rebuild a lot of the trim work, and he created these beautiful bookcases along with 2 of his longtime workers, Joe and Willie. But we stained the bookcases, and this now holds not only a collection of yearbooks, Beacon yearbooks going back to 1931, but other ephemera from Bethel Park. Betty Millar, whose great-grandfather was one of the first magistrates, she donated 4 volumes, which kind of gives a record of, how should I say, misdemeanors, criminal infractions from people in the early 20s, 30s, and 40s. So if you want to come in and check them out and see if your great-uncle Bob was arrested back in 1923, please come in and do so. Okay, so I'm standing in what we think was probably the teacher's lounge. We were never really quite sure what this room was used for, but we decided to build back the wall, which had been torn down at a previous renovation, to create the cloak closet for the classroom next door. And we thought it would be nice to have a prep area for the caterer when we have our parties here that we rent out as a venue. So the Rotary Club of Upper St. Clair Bethel Park, the Breakfast Club, last year had graciously donated $5,000 to start with the renovations of this room. And this year they gave us an additional $5,000 so we could complete the renovations and actually do the ante room next door, where we installed a utility basin slop sink, and we're going to make sort of a little office area and file cabinets for the Historical Society. But it's absolutely incredible, the transformation in this room. What was used as sort of a dumping ground for decades was cleaned out, broken tile was torn up, the suspended ceiling was removed, the new drywall in the ceiling, reglazed the plaster walls. And the Rotary Club, actually, there were about 30 Rotarians that came one day, did a day of caring, and helped install the kitchen cabinets, rebuild the wall, and a lot of other work. And again, John Oakes, who's a member of the Rotary Club from All Pro Plumbing, he came in, repiped the sink, installed the sink, and the cabinetry for us. Don's Appliances had donated the refrigerator last year along with a microwave, which we'll add. So at the end of the day, we've got a beautiful prep area for the caterers in this wonderful new kitchen space. So sometimes it's good to see where we start. I'm standing in the original 1905 auditorium. Remember, Bethel Township, it was a 3-room high school built back in 1905. This large room was used as an auditorium, and the high school students actually performed operettas in this space. At some point in time, they added a wall to make it 2 classrooms, and for many decades, these 2 spaces were rented out to local tenants. We decided to take it back to its original 1905 floor plan, and we have a group of volunteers that come on Tuesday and Thursday evening and Saturday morning. But I really have to give a shout out to Jim Hookey and Skip Hornack. These 2 guys have repeatedly, over the past many months, spent many hours up here tearing down the ceiling, the plaster walls due to water damage, and also the wall in between these 2 classrooms. So thank you guys for your dedication. And then there have been several others who have helped, but Jim and Skip have consistently worked on this room. We're fortunate in that the Bethel Park Community Foundation had generously donated $10,000 last year to restore half of this room, and we're hoping that they would consider spending another $10,000 to do the second part of the auditorium. So therefore it would be named the Bethel Park Community Foundation Auditorium. The goal in this room would be to have guest lecturers come in, or larger events where we need one large room to hold a greater number of people than the classrooms downstairs. So I wanted to show you this room to see kind of where we start in the process. So we're literally taking this room back to its studs. And what's interesting, when you do that, you kind of learn the history of the building. So and we'll pan on this shot, but over my left shoulder was Park Avenue. That was the original entryway into this room. The wall on my right was the back of the building, but in 1917, when they added the addition, they created access ways into the second floor lobby and the rest of the building. So when we tore down the plaster, we actually uncovered the original window casings for the building. So when we pan the room, you can actually see some of the original design of the 1905 building before the 1917 addition was added. This was the back of the 1905 building. In 1917, when they added the addition, they encased the windows. So this 7.5-foot opening was a window. As to the left, you can see the brickwork with the casing of the window. So the windows were covered over. On the other side of this is the stairwell, and then this was all plastered in horsehair plaster and had lath on top. All that needed to be removed because unfortunately about 20 years ago there was a hole in the ceiling, I should say in the roof, when they replaced the roof the last time. Water damage had come in and the windows were so ill-fitting that there was a lot of water damage under all the windows. So we just thought it would be better after we had the new windows replaced by Metropolitan Windows 2 years ago to come in, rip down all the plaster, do some insulation, and put up new drywall. So I just wanted to come back into the old principal's office, which is our military museum, to give you a quick update. You know, we have a wonderful collection of military items, and it's so important to honor the veterans, especially after the 75th anniversary of D-Day. We're fortunate to have a Civil War bugle. We've got a father and son uniform from World War I, World War II, which is over my shoulder, donated by the Hoff line pencil families. They actually lived right down the street from where the schoolhouse is. In addition, we have things from World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. So we've built quite a nice collection. So if anybody's out there and is not sure what to do with their grandfather's old military uniform, medals, please contact us because we would love to give them a home here at the Bethel Park Historical Society. Okay, so we're not only making significant changes on the inside of the building, but also on the exterior side. As we saw earlier, Matt and Julie, when they opened Reginald's Coffee Shop, they donated a new exterior door. There are 11 exterior doors in the building which need to be replaced. Many of them have rotted over the decades of use and abuse. So over my right shoulder, you can see that we've also reconfigured this entryway door, and that's in thanks in part to the Rutherford Acres Women's Club. Last year, one of the Bethel Park Historical Society members, who's also a member of the Rutherford Acres Women's Club, said that the club had selected the Bethel Park Historical Society as its charity of the year. So over the course of the past year, they would do baked goods, and at our monthly meetings, they would bring in baked goods for all the members as sort of a thank you for all the hard work that we've done over the course of the year. Well, I was privileged about 2 weeks ago to attend the Upper St. Clair Country Club, St. Clair Country Club. I was the guest, honored guest, and they presented me with a $1,500 check as a thank you and a contribution toward the Historical Society. So we in turn took that money and bought a second exterior door, and that's over my right shoulder. So thank you very much for the generosity to the Rutherford Acres Women's Club. Over my left shoulder, you can see there's a dumpster there from Michael Brothers. So we certainly thank them for their contribution. So I forgot to mention earlier with regard to the handicap ramp, it's really wonderful when local businesses want to get back and also contribute to this project. And we have to give a shout out to Kiefer Coal Company because they generously donated all the concrete that was used to rebuild that ramp. So thank you very much to Kiefer. So we're standing in the front entrance of the Bethel Park Historical Society, and I just wanted to point out the front doors. This is another area where we'll be replacing those exterior doors. And that was really through the generosity of Rycon Construction. They donated $5,000 to replace the doors. So those doors are on order. And within a couple of weeks on our next show, we'll be able to show you those and to allow light back into the lobby that hasn't been in for decades. And in addition, thank you to Lisa Jenkins of Jenkins Lawn and Garden Center for donating the plants to pot these plants in front of our building just to give a little bit of color and a little bit of life and certainly makes the space a lot more beautiful. So thank you, Lisa. So we're standing in the boardroom of the Bethel Park Historical Society, and I just want to point out we're now at the point in time at the building. Over the past year, we are starting to use this as a rental venue for graduation parties, birthday parties, class reunions, bridal showers, baby showers, and we actually have a party tomorrow and on Sunday for Bethel Park, the class of 2019 local graduates. So if you're interested in renting out the space for an event, please contact us at the historicalsocietybp@gmail.com.